This happened when I was about 13 years old. I'm 21 now. This took place at a Walmart in my small Ohio town and involved myself and my friend Jess, who was about 14. It was a day like any other. Must have been the weekend because I was staying with Jess at the time. Her grandma needed to grocery shop, so we decided to tag along since we didn't have much else to do. The trip there was uneventful and nothing happened when we first arrived. We all walked in together, and as her grandma fetched a shopping cart, we asked her if we could do our own thing. She agreed and said that when she was finished, she'd have them call us over the intercom to let us know. So we set off to the opposite side of the store as the groceries. We turned down an aisle and started walking towards the back of the store, where they kept electronics and the video games. As we walked, we looked down the aisles, just casually checking everything out. To our right down the aisle a ways was a toy section, and each time we looked to our right, we had a clear view of the toy aisle. About 3 or 4 rows down, we looked to the right to see a middle-aged man standing in the toy aisle, surrounded by 5 little kids. The man looks up at us at the same moment we look at him. He smiles and waves his hand as if to call us over. Jess and I look at each other, laugh, and keep walking. We honestly had no red flags going off because we thought he was waving one of his kids over as they were running around the aisle. We continue walking to the back, chatting like we would usually, unaware of any danger. We get to the back and start looking at all the cool cell phones we can afford, looking at the video games and all that wonderful stuff. We head over to the DVD section, and we notice a teenage boy, maybe 15 or 16, standing in the middle of the aisle. He looked at us for a second, and I could see the nervousness and fear all over his face, which made me feel weird because I noticed every sideways glance he shot us. Eventually, we grew bored and decided to head back towards the front of the store. I think maybe we were heading towards the clothing section. We rounded the corner, and it was either the first or second aisle to our left, and we noticed a familiar figure approaching us. It was the man from the toy aisle. But now he was completely alone, and like the last time, we spotted him. He smiled and waved us over. I take a quick glance around us, certain he was waving at someone behind us, but nobody was there. Just us. Again, Jess and I look at each other, laugh, and walk on, making sure to move fast to lose this guy. We still weren't as alarmed as we should have been, but what were the odds we run into that guy again? Sure, it was strange that he had, in fact, been waving at us over to him. But hey, everything was chill. Need I mention we were naive? I should mention something before I go on. Jess and I did this thing back then. Whenever we went somewhere public, we'd pick whatever names we wanted, and that was what we called each other just in case anything like this situation happened. My usual pick was Emily, and normally Jess was Roxy. And that day, she chose Starlita. We get back to the clothes section, talking about the guy as we look around, basically window shopping since we had $0 to our name. We chatted and put the creepy guy out of our thoughts. I'm not sure where we were going next. I just know somewhere at some point we ran into the guy again. And again, he waved us over, but he seemed much more agitated. This time, we didn't laugh. We turned right around and took the hell off. We finally realized that this was a dangerous situation and this guy had nasty intentions. It wasn't funny anymore. It wasn't a game. This was every person's nightmare. I'll be honest when I say I cracked for a minute. I was so scared, but I knew I had to be tough and use my head. We chose to go to the front of the store, where the most people and employees are, and make our way to the grocery section where her grandma was. We get to the front and we're walking towards the groceries, past checkout stations and the jewelry section. It was just past that point I immediately noticed these 2 dudes, one wearing a hat and one with his hood up. I don't know what made me notice them, called intuition. But as soon as I noticed them, they were watching us and they both immediately looked away when they met my gaze. In that moment, I knew they were watching us. For that guy. I watched as one in the hat got on his phone and put his head down and he spoke silently. Jess and I searched the entire grocery section, which is literally half the store. No grandma. We can't find her anywhere. I'm aware something scary is happening and we can't find our guardian. Needless to say, we were pretty damn scared, unsure of what to do. We head back to ground zero, the other side of the store, passing the 2 dudes. Hat guy getting on his phone again. We thought maybe her grandma had gone to that side of the store to find us, so we're hoping we'd run into her. We go down the main aisle instead of the smaller ones, and we end up running into a mutual friend, Kelly. It was nice to find a familiar face. We tell Kelly about what's been happening, and I mention the teenage boy we'd seen earlier. Same as the two dudes. I just had a feeling the boy was in on it too. Kelly decides to go confront the boy, seeing if he'll spit anything out. Jess and I stayed back, allowing her to approach him alone. After a couple minutes of them talking, him nervously looking around, eyes widely flickering between us, her, and the area, Kelly walked back over and said he didn't say much. I guess she asked if he knew where his dad was, to which the boy said he wasn't sure. So basically, it was just a waste of time. We walked away, and I'd say 10 minutes passed when Kelly inevitably had to leave. We head down the aisle, see the guy, and run. Get to the main aisle, head back towards the back of the store, turn the corner, and there he comes. Closer than he has been all this time. Waves 2 fingers at us, very angrily saying, "Come here." Jess, bless her heart, was so terrified all she could do was meekly whisper, "Hi." I looked at her. "Hi," I said as I grabbed her shoulders and shoved her back the way we had been coming. And we both took off running. Jess kept running straight, and I took a quick right turn, thinking she'd follow me. She didn't. It was about 30 seconds later that I realized she hadn't followed me. I panicked hard. I whipped around and ran back, more concerned about my friend than running into that man. I went in the direction she had gone, and a few aisles down I found her. She was standing dead still a few feet ahead, and a few feet ahead of her, moving quickly, was the man. He'd be on her in mere seconds, and in that moment I couldn't remember the damn name she picked. Don't ask me why our aliases came to mind in such a dire moment, but it only lasted a second. As soon as the thought came, I shouted Roxy. To my utter relief, she whipped right around and ran to me. I grabbed her arm and ran as fast and as far as our legs would carry us. We stayed near the center of the store, praying he didn't have any spies nearby. The fear at this point was overwhelming. I'm really shocked neither of us had pissed ourselves, especially dear Jess. She came close to being too close to him. God only knows what that psycho had planned for us. All we knew was that he really wanted us. I remember being so angry that we couldn't find her grandma. We made way back to the grocery section, and again, no grandma. We were desperate at this point. This chase was getting so tiring, and we were feeling hopeless. We ran into the man again and took off running down different aisles. We were stopped by our worker who was scolding us for running, cutting us off every time we tried to plead for help. Jess yells, "Shut up." And as the woman prepares to defend herself, I say, "There's a man following us, and we can't find our grandma." This got her attention. Luckily, another employee, a retired cop, overheard and stayed by our side the rest of the ordeal. The lady went off to look for this guy, and cop dude proceeded to call Jess's grandma over the intercom. We waited about 5 to 10 minutes before walking to the front of the store, the lady joining us as we all made our way to the grocery section, passing the two dudes, hat guy getting on his phone wide-eyed. We again couldn't find grandma, so we were walking back to the counter they called her to when here comes the guy, shopping cart, kids and all. We hadn't seen those kids ever since we first saw the guy. We immediately point him out. Cop dude takes us around the corner as the lady approached the man to confront him. A few minutes pass by and the lady walks back to us. The man walked away, him taking one last look or glare at us. She said he denied following us and that he was shopping with his kids the whole time. We eventually find grandma. Turns out she wasn't even in the damn store. She finished her shopping and went out to the car. We ended up leaving. Thank God, not with that guy. I realize now just how stupid we were and how terrifying this actually was. The scariest part is how orchestrated it all was. People looking out for him on all sides of the store. Wherever we went, he'd be there. He really, really wanted us. And I always wonder, were those kids really his, or were they just not as lucky enough to get away?